Thanks for joining us today. I'm Sham, joined by Chuck, our CTO, and Chella, our president and head of software delivery. We are going to talk today about how AI is factoring into software development, how it's changing, how we're working with customers now, but also where we see it going in the future. There's a lot of discussion out there about it, and I think there's a lot of confusion as well. So hopefully we could address some of that today and bring some perspective and maturity into the process. So Chuck, Jella, I think that the question that we're talking about here is not if AI is changing software in the world. I think that's been addressed, but how does AI figure into how we develop software? How is it changing the lifecycle? Are we completely redesigning how we make software, or can we just sprinkle some AI in there and get the magic out of that? So I think we're taking a deliberate approach, measured and deliberate approach. But Chuck, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure.
How is the work changing, and then Chella, as we can get into what that means ultimately for delivery and meeting customer expectations.
I think that to begin with, we kind of think of it as an interesting tool to work with. We have a lot of developers that are expert in their particular domains, and so we kind of started to, how do we actually manage that and start to develop software with experts in different domains that can come in and assess the quality and kind of look at what's going on with the software and so forth. So we created kind of like quality gates where we can actually make sure that it meets certain kinds of things. As we start to understand more that we can actually make AI agents that can start to do some of that pre-scanning, that pre-verification of the tasks and so forth, that we can accelerate, pre-do a lot of the stuff that would take up time for our experts. And so this whole thing in terms of the shift in engineering roles is that from people who are responsible for writing the things and doing the heavy lifting that is now done by the AI.
It's like choosing, you're right, human in the loop is obviously talked about with AI a lot. So it's choosing the right spots for intervention to make sure that our development doesn't go off the rails.
Interestingly enough, it kind of shifts the focus from what it takes to do the language, to do the technology, to more to what it takes to do to solve the problem.
And then just one more question as part of that, right? Are there things that we're discovering that, and this is going to be a general question, I know all the models and tools are slightly different, but are there things we're finding that using AI does, the AI does really well versus it doesn't do well? So for example, it'll, generate beautiful code and working interfaces and all of that super easily. But from an architectural perspective, unless you're having an experienced human kind of guide it right now, it's going to make its own decisions and may not make the right decisions from time to time. That example, I don't know if it's right, but are we finding those pockets?
Yeah. And this actually speaks to a kind of a shift in how we start software, in that we can you start with a description of what you're trying to solve, a specification as such, and you'll find that the specification wasn't exactly specified clearly enough, so you end up getting this iterative approach rather than having a bunch of humans review the specifications to make sure that they're correct and unambiguous. Now the AI can rewrite code that would have taken us a lot of time to rewrite. So now we can get into more of an iterative approach and get something working faster.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. So then technology is there, it's moving fast, as we all know, but so Chella, with customers and how they're either asking for things or expecting things, what does that look like today, and then how do you see it evolving?
Compared to any other kind of the AI development lifecycle that is out there in the market, in the industry today, we are kind of different in three aspects. benefits. One is that because we are outsourced delivery operating model, not a tool first. So meaning our clients can come with any kind of dictate a lot of different tool chains. We need to adopt to them, right? In that sense, we could have a client who mandates certain tools, certain DevOps tool chain and everything else when we kind of fit into that. So we don't focus much on the tool set, but we focus on how the teams actually run and execute, right? So the cadence and the rhythm, the gates and the mandatory aspects of the team interaction is important. That's what one thing, the commitment between Trigent and the client are one which can lead to success. So we focus on that. Second is more of a formal engineering control, meaning because as we are again building software for our clients, making sure that they deliver what they're supposed to do in terms of specs. So it's a very heavy spec-driven kind of a methodology. We focus on that. We focus on building the guardrails and specific aspect of not letting context rot or anything like that. So having the context very specific within the client, and that is much more important. Second. Lastly, the differentiation is that we need, again, going back to the same point, but how do we ensure and demonstrate success to our client is being able to measure these things, right? So in that sense, we have our own measuring platform, Telemetry 360. The telemetry collection tool collects all the things about related to reviews, PR gates, and baseline code changes, everything else. And then finally, it distills down to three aspects, which is release readiness, velocity, and engineering score. And these are easy for somebody to understand and being able to demonstrate success to our clients. So we're not just using AI to build faster, but we have a governed, measured, repeatable AI delivery system. So we should be able to do that and scale across the teams. And that's our model, and that's how we approach it.
So just to compare to what people might have heard about the different models that are out there, I know, we use AI DLC internally. I know maybe it wasn't coined, but is most famously associated with AWS.
There are aspects we are influenced through a lot of things, and of course, AWS's AI DLC is a strong foundation from which we learn. But ours is a spec-driven development methodology. It mandates about a 1 week cadence. And a lot of focus is on building the guardrails we talked about, not let the AI engines a lot of freedom. We drive that through our own methodology.
All right, so then let's take that and Chuck, bring it back to you. Now that we've got that, what is actually changing about the work? Beyond
Right.
AI can write beautiful code in much less time than we would, and so we're writing less code. What else is changing?
So, software can be quite complex. A lot of what we do is integrate other applications and other existing systems, other existing databases. Things need to be really clearly specified and unambiguous. So this notion of a design forward sort of requirement of being able to say, this is how things integrate, this is this is the meaning and the impact or the importance of this information that comes from other sources, from other databases, sort of thing. That's one thing that really is really getting that right and making sure that that's solid. The other part, as I mentioned earlier, was the notion that we can start rapidly prototyping. We can actually start, putting it out there because it's cheaper to rewrite the code. The issue is, are we doing it correctly? It's an interesting shift, and so we've been working with ways of very clearly stating what the integrations are, what the data is, in a way that it can actually be taken by the AI and move forward.
So that that there's a bunch of different pieces of the stack, right? That you touched on there. How much magic is involved versus very strictly guided instruction to these agents, right? Because the barriers between you don't have a Java developer and a C# developer. You've got an agent that can do basically everything or understands everything. And so how do you get the work going in a way that doesn't kind of bleed over these boundaries?
It is interesting from individual contributors. building a where they're doing different parts of a story or something like that, if you think of that in an agile way, to having an owner for the story, and then having essentially consultants that come in and help and drive certain pieces of it. And this introduces new gates that we have, as Chella was saying, we have new gates which deal with, kind of like a technology. Is this technology meeting the requirements, and is this really the best way or an appropriate way to meet these requirements? And as I said earlier, having, even being able to make agents that can actually have persona and play with us in this regard, it really, creates that significant change.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So then, Chella, as we get to the delivery side, right? What is a client actually getting by working with somebody like us? Because we've just talked about how the barrier to writing code has come down. So why, if I was a customer, why wouldn't I just tell my Claude Code to go do stuff for me?
In a broad stroke, clients always want the same thing, right? A faster time to deployable product that they can get to market. They want obviously cheaper iterations and fewer surprises when working with a team like us, right? So they are buying business outcomes and not technology or methodology. So as it relates to the methodology, they also do want they want transparency. They want measurable outcomes. So those are the things that we try to do. So in the last 6 months of practicing within Trigent, our methodology using AI to build software, the efficiency gains have been fairly large range. It is kind of difficult to articulate a simple number, but I think the tremendous reduction are in the code development and QA hardness and test creation and test execution. But we also have been very careful and not to reduce the effort that it is involved in creating the spec. So we focus mostly on the front end of the spec development and having that AWS ADLC calls it a mob elaboration. So we do a mob elaboration, but to some extent the elaboration aspect of it and having the intent and the elaboration and then the spec right is very important for us, because that's what drives the rest of the things. The other end is that how we turn it around and deliver, right? The delivery checklist and delivery gates are very important. So those are the two things that we have. And we're able to shrink a lot of things that happens in the middle, which is typically code development, test execution, and things like that. And also, we do have our QA and verification is dependent on kind of a risk versus reward kind of thing. So, for example, if you're building software for regulatory domain or something, the healthcare domain, we may do a 100% manual review than something which is different, right? So things like that. So we need to be balancing those stuff. Finally, we are using Qmetry to define things like we have today measure and share with our clients our efforts per story points or a pull request. So what our clients get is a successful outcome, but also very high quality delivery back with reliable metrics and it's a standardized operating model that they can allow for everybody across the teams.
Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. And then there's a couple points that I think bring into a point that I want to make kind of around pricing there, right? So we've got the telemetry from Qmetry, effort, design, lines of code, and then you touched on, customers aren't really buying technology or methodology, whatever version of it, right? There's a reason they're doing these spends. Are you changing how you price based on now AI DLC? And they're always going to ask about it, and I think it's worth being honest here rather than aspirational. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And then, Chella, you said in the domain specificity that we bring, right? Even though software, data engineering, there are patterns, repeatable patterns that work in healthcare that may not be relevant in TLS or transportation logistics that, I think we can bring. So it feels like we're in the early stages of what repricing looks like, whether it's defining outcomes on a sector by sector basis. So in healthcare, it looks like this, but in manufacturing, it looks like that. or defining outcomes on a component basis. But an API can be very easy to build or very difficult to build, depending on a whole bunch of factors that have nothing to do with that individual API. And so, what's a unit of value look like there? And then, faster time to deployment. So, is it just a time thing, right? Is it just that I got the thing I wanted faster? But then is there a trade-off on quality, like we've been talking about, right? The questions come up, okay, you did it much faster than you said you could, but now what did I lose or what did I not get? And so, I think for our customers, we're trying to say, look, there's a middle ground here, right? We can move into more sort of fixed price land where we're confident we can deliver within this margin. Maybe we can put on some time-based triggers and say, look, if we have a full team staffed against it in the T&M model, this would take 4 weeks. We'll say we'll do it at cost for you for 3 weeks, but if we hit 3 weeks, then we get a kicker, and it looks we both win on the upside. You get it faster, we get a bit more on the price, and for our margin. I think there's a lot of versions of it, so maybe we're not there yet. But Chella, Chuck, anything that you guys are hearing from customers as well about how pricing needs to change or pressures that we're hearing?
We don't have a definite answer to that, and we've not fundamentally changed our pricing in many different ways. So that being said, one thing is certain, the time and material pricing is collapsing, and more of outcome or value-based pricing is increasing. So that is definitely true. Models are, we need to see which models. The outcome or value-based pricing is very suited for a managed services kind of a model. But a lot of other engagements also co-engineering or co-development engagements, which is like now we have part of our team, part of client's team working together on a particular thing. So how do we define outcome in a collective way in that sense, right? So it becomes a little bit difficult. So in those situations where there's more of a co-engineering or a co-development, I think there is a conversations of more about token cost sharing and efficiency between the teams and the total spend and things like that. And we will change our pricing model when we definitely have a lot of data points around it and have agreement with our customers around it. At this point in time, fundamentally we're not changed, but the one thing I can definitely say is that more and more of a value-based or outcome-based pricing is there.
I think that the delivery of something that's working early, that allows them to look at it and see it, so they actually start to see a couple of things. They see that we understand their problem early, that we understand that we can design towards their problem early. And that creates, reducing of risk. That kind of, what you say is exactly right about being our domain expertise, our experience into this really pays off. We're giving them more than code. We're actually a partner in trying to solve their problem. And I think so far that's done pretty well. The other thing is that they say, okay, now before we actually begin this, kind of show me where we're going, a little bit of like upfront, convince me that you're on the right track, that you can do it, you got the chops, and we can do that, and we're doing that.
Yeah. I know we've got just a couple of minutes left here, so let me try and summarize everything we said. Where does this go? What does software development look like in 4 or 5, 6 years? Like we said, it's anyone who tells you they know the answer to that is making something up. But we know the directions it's going in, right? We see these vectors. We see, reduced time to write code. We see broader sets of ability. We see different types of QA and QC coming in, different things we need to measure during the process. So what we are committing to, with our process is to bring in the maturity that we've got from 30 years all the way from, Y2K to whatever we're going to call this period in 20 years. But we've got all of that experience as well as domain depth in a number of different areas. So the two of those combined with, net faster development equals stable software that drives business outcomes, right? We can all vibe code something, but vibe coded does not mean enterprise grade stable. You still have to do the hard work of making sure that something can enter an environment, works within workflows, talks to all the systems it needs to talk to. And you can't just do that by asking, somebody else, an agent to do it for you, at least for now, right? When the machines take over later, it could be different. All right, Jella, Chuck, thanks for spending the time here talking about this change in the industry. I think there's a lot of work for us to do, but we've got a good direction. We're headed on that way. And so let's get to it.
Thank you. Welcome, and nice chatting with you too.